Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm a short, overweight, middle-aged white dude. I've got thinning brown hair, black glasses. I'm wearing a grey shirt, grey shorts, and I'm sitting in my Tesla Model Y because in this video, I'd like to show you the first 10 things that I think are useful to set up when you get into a Tesla for the first time. So, you've shown up on delivery day, you've walked in, you've gone around the car, you've made sure everything's cool outside, you've sat down. Now what? Let's have a look at it. Now, the first thing that I think you should do is set up a profile, because this is what happened to me on the first time I got in. So I got into the car, I set up my chair, I set up my steering wheel, and then I was like, oh, I need to set up a profile, and then the steering wheel went back to where it was, the chair went back to where it was. So create a profile first, and then adjust things, because otherwise it's not safe to your profile. So to set up a profile, tap on the profile sort of area up here in the top center of the screen. So I'm just going to tap on easy entry. You can see I've already got a few profiles set up, but I'm going to set up a demo one for demo purposes. So we go driver profile settings, and we're just going to call this one demo. Tap on enter, and the first thing is that it asks us if we want to set up our mirrors and our steering wheel. Now, we could do this at this stage, but I'm actually going to just tap cancel, and I'm going to set up my chair first. I'm just going to close that. So to set up your chair, you've got the buttons on the side of your chair. So I'm just going to move a little bit forward. I'm going to adjust a little bit back and forth. I'm going to move the lumbar support, and you see as I'm doing this, there is a little sort of menu item here that shows the profile that I'm in, and do I want to save the setting. So I tap on save, and that has now saved the chair position for this profile. Now, let's go into the menus and set up everything else. So go ahead and tap on the little car icon in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And the first window that we come to is controls. So here again, we can set up our mirrors and our steering wheel. So if we tap on mirrors, it shows us how to do this. We can use the little control dial on the left hand side of the steering wheel, and we can go up to make the mirrors go up, we go down to go down, left and right to adjust the mirrors left and right, and that's the left mirror. If you want to adjust the right mirror, tap on right. As you would expect, that's what you do, and when you're happy with the way it's set up, you can tap on save. Before I do that, this little function, now these are all turned on by default. I think it's perfectly fine to leave them on. Auto tilt is really cool, because what that does is when you put the car into reverse, the mirrors automatically tilt downwards. You can see the curbs on either side, so you're not going to hopefully, scratch the rims of your car. So I'm going to tap on save there, and I'm happy with that. Then I'm going to adjust the steering wheel. So if I tap on steering, again, I use the same dial on the steering wheel. So up goes up, down goes down, left goes towards you, hello, and right goes away from you. So set up your steering wheel the way you like it, and when you're happy with that, you tap on save. And interesting quirk of the UI here, the window doesn't automatically close. You do need to tap on the little X to then close that window. The other thing to look at in the control screens is this is where you set up your lights. So I generally set most things in the car just to auto. So I've got my lights to auto. I've also got the high beam set to auto. And a nice thing that I want to point out here is generally when you change sort of almost anything on the car, sort of any sort of auto settings or any sort of thing that's set to auto, a little window will pop up down here in the bottom right hand corner where you can manually change things. So let me give an example of that. So I've got my wipers set to auto at the moment, but if I want to manually turn my wipers on to just give me one flick, I'll have to press this button here on the left stalk. So I'll push it sort of halfway in, so just gentle whoop, and you see the menu comes up there, and I can then just tap on 2 and it turns the wipers on to 2, and I can go back to auto. Now this little bit will stay there for about 5 to 10 seconds when you use whatever it is you use. So for example, if I push back, which is my high beams, it gives me my light options, and then I can change my lights options here while it's on there. Again, if I push the windscreen wiper halfway down, it gives me my wiper options. By the way, if you push the windscreen wiper and hold the windscreen wiper down the whole way, that will give you a little spritz of wiper fluid and do a little, wipe the windscreen wipers. So there's other stuff to look at here, but again, I just want to cover the things that you're going to cover the first time you get into the car. So that's what you look at in the controls window. Next one we're going to look at is pedals and steering. So acceleration you can set to standard and chill. I would suggest go with standard first. So chill, the acceleration is going to be quite soft. Standard is going to be a bit more fun. Steering, you've got comfort, standard, sport. So comfort is, it just, quite frankly, when we got this, my brother-in-law came with us, and he's a car guy, and he set these up for me. He said, no, send that to hold, set that to that. So, you know, he said, if you want, you know, the way you drive, the way I drive, which is, how do I be diplomatic about this? Fairly sedate, just set it to comfort. If you want to have a bit more feeling towards the car, so for example with comfort, I turn the wheel and it responds. If I had it set to sport, I'd sort of flick the wheel just slightly and it responds. So it's a lot more sensitive if you set it to sport. Standard in the middle. Stopping mode, that one's a really good one to look at. So this is basically talking about regenerative braking. So if you set it to creep, and what I like about this is it actually tells you sort of what each thing is going to do. So if I set it to creep, slowly move pedals as released. So as I release a pedal, you know, so as I release the brake, it's like you're driving a standard sort of automatic car. Not exactly, but closer to it. You've then got roll, so it will roll when the pedals are released, and hold, which will give you maximum regenerative braking. And as you release the pedal, the car will come to a complete stop. So those are the settings that I set for this one, but entirely up to what your preferences are. We're going to skip charging and autopilot because those aren't really things that you need to set up when you get into the car for the first time, and go straight ahead to locks. Now, as you can see here, my wife and I have already set up our phones as keys. If you want to set this up for the first time, when you tap on add key, you can add a new key fob, which you can buy from Tesla. But to set up your phone as a key, you actually do that from within the Tesla app. Now, I can't show you this because I've already done it, but I'll try and cover that with some screenshots or something in a separate video I'm going to do, which shows you taking a look at all the stuff that the Tesla app does. Then if you go a little bit further down this menu, you can see that it's, you know, you've got your child locks. You can have child lock on, window lock, walk away door lock. This is a really cool feature. So once you set up your phone as the key, basically all you need to do is walk away from the car and the car will automatically lock. It takes a bit of getting used to, and you definitely want to have this setting down here at the bottom, which is lock confirmation sound. So when the car locks, it gives a little toot, and you know, you can see the mirrors fold in, and that's really good because it did take me a bit of a while to relax about the fact that, oh, I'm just going to walk away from my car and not push a button or anything, and it's just going to lock itself. Yeah, I totally trust it to do that. But so far, it absolutely has done that every time. So I really do like that function. Next thing is if we look at lights, not much here. Again, I would just say, you know, just go with auto. Dome lights, I actually don't know what the dome lights are, so I've just set that to off. Something to look at here though with auto high beams. Now, as I understand it, technically in Australia, it's illegal to use your high beams in built up areas. So this isn't a huge deal because if your auto high beam does come on, you can just flick it off with the knob here. Stalk, with the stalk on the left here. So you can switch it off right away. But something to be aware of with auto high beams. Then if we look in displays, once again, I've set this all to auto, so you can manually change how bright or dark the display is. And if you just leave that on auto, it'll automatically just set it. Whee! Hypnotic, isn't it? Not really. The appearance, so you can have your whole menu look dark or bright. Again, I leave that on auto, and so during the day it's bright, during the night it's dark. Fairly straightforward. Screen clean mode. Now this really appeals to the pedantic, you know, detail person inside me. So if your screen is a little bit dirty, because, you know, fingerprints and all that kind of stuff, so you can go in and you can clean it. But the problem is that while you're cleaning it, you can see here I'm doing stuff because the screen's a touch screen and I'm touching it. So what you can do is tap on screen clean mode. It locks the screen, then you can clean it to your heart's content, which takes a lot to content my heart. And here's the thing. Again, I appreciate, I'm not sure how you would avoid this from a UI perspective, but in order to turn the screen clean mode off, you then have to tap and hold. And I try and use my, like, just the slightest bit of my finger, because while to tap and you've got to hold it for 3 seconds, to hold it for 3 seconds, I've just put a fingerprint there. So I just come and clean that one. I know, it's a miracle I found anyone to marry me, but there you go. Miracles happen. Then you've got your languages. Set that to whatever you prefer. So, for touchscreen language, Espanol, Francais, Canadian French. That's nice that they make that distinction. And here in English, because the only two people that speak English are the British and the Americans. All I have to say to that is g'day and who gaan it? How's it? Yeah, let's go with that. Times, display, distances, all that. Set that to how you like. Trips, we're not going to worry about when we first set up the car because you haven't gone anywhere. Navigation, so this is your maps. You turn the maps talky bit on, so this is going to tell you turn left at this, turn right at that. I find that annoying, so I leave mine off. You can tell it to avoid tolls, avoid ferries, all fairly self-explanatory. And finally, if we go into safety, this gives you your sentry mode, your dash cam settings, allow mobile access, glove box pin, all this sort of stuff. Now, something I will say about this is, this gives me an opportunity to talk about something that I should have spoken about a little bit earlier, is that if you have a look, there's a little eye next to some of these functions. So if I tap on eye, it gives me more information about that particular feature. Now, I really like the fact that you've got a little bit more information to explain these features a little bit more. What I would have preferred, though, is if we had an eye next to everything. Like, I realize that a lot of the stuff seems fairly like allow mobile access. I know what that means. That means I can access all the safety stuff from my mobile phone, but that may not be obvious to everyone. So I think from a point of consistency and from a point of making it easier for people to understand, particularly because there's stuff in here that's just sort of left for us to work out. It would have been nice if they just put an eye next to everything, because yeah, why not? So just a bit of a request to the Tesla UI designers. It would have been nice if you could put an eye next to everything, because I know what allow mobile access does, but my mum may not. The other thing that I have to say to the very US-based UI designers at Tesla, it would have been nice if you could customize, or shall we say regionalize, the English UI a bit more. So for example, dashcam, I love the fact that it's automatically on, and if we tap on the eye there again, it shows that it records up to 10 minutes of video, and then if you want to just honk your horn, it'll automatically turn on the dashcam again. The thing is, in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and South Africa, this isn't called a horn, it's called a hooter. Is it called a hooter? Yeah, you hoot your horn. No, it's still called a horn, but you hoot it, you don't honk it. We don't have trunks, we have boots. It's not a big deal, but it would just be a nice tip of the hat to non-American English speakers. So that'd be nice. Yeah, so let me try and think if there's anything else that I haven't covered. I think that's pretty much everything that I would suggest you look at when you first get in and you're going to drive it off the lot. There is other things to look at, but you're not going to do that as you get in the first time. The last thing I want to show you is Autopilot and explain to you why some of these functions may be they may be grayed out or locked out when you first get into the car. And you'll notice that over here on the right hand side while you're driving, when you first get the car, you don't have the menu that shows you the cars that are around you and that kind of stuff. It just says calibrating, and that's because the autopilot stuff needs to calibrate its system before it can allow you to use it. And something that I learned about the autopilot system was when we first got the car, it took us about 2 or 3 days before the calibration was calibrated and we could turn on all this autopilot stuff. And from what I've been told, that was because we, first of all, weren't driving that much, but also we were driving on roads that didn't have good road markings and things like that. So if you want to set the calibration to get calibrated as quickly as possible, what I've been told is basically drive for about 15 minutes in the center lane on a motorway or highway, and that should calibrate you pretty quick. So that is the first 10 things that I think are useful to set up the first time you sit down in your Tesla before you drive it off the lot. I hope that was helpful. I hope maybe I showed you something new that you didn't know before. If you did find this useful, please like and subscribe. If you have subscribed already, thank you so much for your support, and I'll catch you in the next one. Safe and happy driving.